15 Things You Forgot About Stan Lee's Stripperella. Part 1. If you are brand new to our channel, we invite you to take a moment to subscribe. Just click on the lit red button as well as the gray bell. Why the bell? Well, it will let you know every time we post a new video. 1. It did not last long. The show died a quick and somewhat sad death. Supposedly the reasons for its demise were creative differences, as well as the pending lawsuit. It is kind of a drag that it went down the way it did, as sometimes a campy show like this can be really awesome, but not in the case of Stripperella. It will go down as one of the bigger mistakes that Stan Lee ever made, but even with the ridiculous lawsuit, I doubt that he regrets it. I mean, how could anyone ever possibly regret being a part of a show called Stripperella? I know I wouldn't. So now all we have left are memories of a show that was the best thing ever made about stripper superheroes. And yes, it is also the only thing ever made about stripper superheroes. Source, Wikia, Theraches.com. By Leon Powell. 2. A real-life stripper sued Stan Lee. In 2003, a stripper named Janet Clover filed a lawsuit against Viacom, which owns Spiket, Stan Lee, and Pamela Anderson. The basis of her suit is that she came up with the idea for Stripperella and Stan Lee stole her idea when she told him about it during a lap dance. Okay, first of all, who talks during a lap dance? Shush. The lawsuit was covered by the Associated Press, People, and Entertainment Weekly. This whole scene was obviously a tad embarrassing for Stan Lee, not just because he was accused of stealing someone's idea, but also because he was an old dude getting a lap dance. And not only getting a lap dance, but getting one from some chick who was talking to him about a TV show while doing it. Just bad news all around. 3. Comic book. At one point there was going to be a comic book made of this whole thing. I mean, that is what Stan Lee does, right? But this was not going to be from Marvel. It was supposed to be a promotional cartoon that was going to be put out by a company called Humanoids Publishing. It never got off the ground because of some difficulties between Spiket and Pamela Anderson. This is kind of too bad, because as much as the TV show was a bit fraught with problems, a comic book sounds kind of cool, not to mention it is the medium with which Stan Lee has had the most success. Hey, maybe Marvel would put it out now? Actually, that is highly doubtful, but we can always dream. 4. There were only 13 episodes. The show only lasted for 13 episodes before it was all over. A good example of the episodes was the very first one, which was called Beauty and the Obese. It's described thusly in the premiere episode. Stripperella must face off against her first threat, Dr. Caesarean, a plastic surgeon who's injecting beautiful models with deadly implants that make them gain weight and become obese. So you can already sort of get the vibe of this show. Not quite the most politically correct thing you are ever going to come across. But hey, it is a show called Stripperella, about a superhero stripper. I mean, come on now, what were you expecting to see? A cartoon version of War and Peace? I think not. 5. Recurring villains. Every show like Stripperella needs to have some bad guys, and this one was no exception. The show lasted for such a short time that there are only 2 recurring villains. One is named Cheapo, who is played by Maurice LaMarche. He is known as the world's cheapest bad guy. The other one is Queen Clitoris, pronounced Clitoris, who is played by Serena Irwin. She spends much of her time flipping out on those around her, because society does not deem her pretty enough. Now I wish I was joking about the Queen Clitoris name, but I am not. It makes one wonder, not for the first time, when this show was being discussed, what the hell were these people thinking? I mean, the whole "it's so bad it's good" thing only goes so far. 6. She works at a place called TenderLoins. She works at TenderLoins? Really? Yes, really. Stripperella works at a club called TenderLoins, which is owned by wimpy owner Kevin, who is played by Tom Kenny, and has a feminine bartender named Leonard, who is voiced by Maurice Lamerge. And of course, there are other dancers on the show, the flirty Persephone, played by Serena Irwin, and the sweet country girl Giselle. There is also a new member, named Kat, who gets the job by pretending to be a virgin who is also Amish. Honestly, this sounds pretty much like every strip club I have ever been to. Now all that is really needed is a couple of hugely drunk guys who think the strippers like them for real, and are not just doing a job for money. 7. Spongebob was on the show. Well, no, not really. Spongebob was not actually on it. How weird would that be? Not to mention a little bit creepy too. It actually was the actor Tom Kenny who is the voice of Spongebob, as well as many other characters including Heifer Wolf and Rocco's Modern Life, the Ice King and Adventure Time, the Mayor in the Powerpuff Girls, Dog and Cat Dog, and Spyro from the Spyro the Dragon franchise. Kenny used to be a really funny stand-up comedian before he started doing voices, but now he seems pretty settled into what he does. In fact, he is obviously a bit of a huge star in the voice world. How cool would that be? To be rich and make a living acting, and yet never have anyone recognize you in the real world championship? 8. Vince McMahon. If you are a fan of Theorist, and I imagine that you are since you are reading this article, then you no doubt know who Vince McMahon is. He is the man purely responsible for making the WWE into the billion-dollar business that it is today. But you probably did not know that he was a voice actor for a character on Stripperella. Oh, but he was. He voiced the owner for the main competition of TenderLoins, which was a strip club called Silicones. The character he played was named Dirk McMahon. I wonder how long it took for them to come up with that name. Pretty creative, I have to say. How much do these guys get paid to write this stuff anyway? McMahon basically keeps trying to get Stripperella to work at his club,